Here are the top 10 most shocking and sometimes downright jaw-dropping moments in Hogwarts Legacy. And obviously, I think it goes without saying, but major story spoilers are coming up. At number 10, we have to start with our buddy George Osric and one of the most shocking moments that came only minutes into the game. In the lead up to Hogwarts Legacy, we were led to believe that Osric was going to be an important ministry official. Chandler Wood and the marketing team, they had to be in on this. They even featured him in a dedicated social media post with a character card and more information about him. So during the game's opening sequence, we meet Osric and he joins the main character along with Professor Fig in a flying carriage. Within minutes of the carriage taking flight though, it's attacked by a dragon and Osric, unable to apparate away in time, gets, well, devoured by the massive winged beast. And if you're wondering if maybe there's still some small chance that Osric may have survived, the game pretty much confirms his death with the reveal of Thestrals, which our main character was not able to see before this moment. This certainly set the tone early that Hogwarts Legacy was not afraid to take out characters in potentially gruesome fashion. Moving on to number 9, quests with Sebastian Sallow are by far some of the most riveting moments in the game. One of these quests has our main character in search of Slytherin Scriptorium. Of course, longtime fans know Slytherin was also the founder behind the Chamber of Secrets and the basilisk inside. Simply the mention of another hidden room left behind by Hogwarts' most controversial founder was enough of a surprise on its own, but then we actually get to go there. The journey is a dark and tragic one as ominous Gaunt learns the fate of his Aunt Noctua and how she died before ever locating the Scriptorium. And it's all because she was traveling alone. You see, to get inside the Scriptorium, you needed to cast Crucio on someone else, and Noctua was traveling alone. It's here the player must make the choice on whether they will cast the curse on Sebastian or have him cast it upon them. No matter which option you choose though, you eventually do make your way into the Scriptorium left behind by Salazar Slytherin. And that leads us right into number 8 because the whole reason Seb continues with his quest at all is with the goal of saving his sister Anne. Only he believes she was cursed by goblins. This fuels Seb's hatred and disdain for the creatures, and he makes numerous comments throughout the game about it. Near the end of the game though, we learn it wasn't the goblins who cursed Anne, but Victor Rookwood, a dark wizard who had partnered with the goblins to get closer to the ancient magic, and oddly enough, the ancient magic that his ancestor Charles Rookwood was trying to protect. For number 7, we come to Fire and Vice, which was a mission in Hogwarts Legacy that featured Poppy Sweeting, our Hufflepuff companion. It's also a mission that was featured prominently in early preview footage of the game, and even looking back at it now, it's still one of the most surprising moments for me in the whole game. Things start off simply enough with Poppy and our main character looking to understand more about the mysterious Horntail Hall, which seems to be at the center of the poaching operation happening about the Scottish Highlands. We take out a few poachers as we investigate clues left behind, and it seems like a pretty standard mission until you reach this tent. In a moment that had to be inspired at least in part by the Weasley family tent from Goblet of Fire, we enter to find it is not a normal tent at all, and there was actually a massive dragon fighting ring inside. The next area can be completed with stealth, but everything ultimately ends with an epic battle featuring wizards, goblins, and even an animagus inside the actual dragon ring. The battle concludes with Poppy and the main character freeing the dragon. At number 6, we come to the fate of Isidora Morganach. While Sebastian's story is by far the most tragic in the game, the tale of Isidora Morganach is a close second. Through a series of pensive memories, we learn more about Isidora's connection to ancient magic and how she used it to remove pain from loved ones, starting with her father, who never seemed to recover after the death of his son, who was also Isidora's brother. The memories show Isidora's failed attempts at convincing the other Hogwarts professors that taking away the pain is something they should be using the ancient magic for. Her story ultimately leads to an area underneath Hogwarts where she's been storing the energy and even using her abilities on students to remove their pain. Shocked at this, the other professors confront Isidora, and this results in a crazy battle. She attacks, injures Fitzgerald, but then this happens.
Avada Kedavra!
Number 5, we come to Polyjuice Black. In the lead up to Hogwarts Legacy, many fans were hoping we'd have an opportunity to see the school under the direction of one Phineas Nigellus Black. We knew it would provide a nice contrast to Dumbledore. What we didn't expect though is that we'd actually get a moment to play as Black. Well, through Polyjuice anyway. As you and Professor Fig continue to investigate the ancient magic connected to the school, there comes a time when you need to get inside the headmaster's office to access the trial of former headmistress Neve Fitzgerald. But first, we'll need the password. Fig comes up with the plan to ask Scrope, Black's house elf, for the password, but Scrope will need to believe he's actually telling Black himself, otherwise he would never give it up. Fig just so happens to have some Polyjuice for Black as he had anticipated, possibly needing it for a moment such as this. The player then becomes Black and gets to walk walk through the halls of Hogwarts as the headmaster. Along the way, we have several humorous interactions with both students and staff, with some of them even being missable if you don't choose to interact with the students. What happens after this quest, though, is arguably even more shocking, so be on the lookout for that here in just a moment. At number 4, though, we have another pretty crazy reveal that actually happened in a side quest and not even in one of the main missions for the game. So in the Tale of Roland Oak's questline, you'll come across some pretty significant information regarding Ranrok, the main antagonist of the game. If you ever wondered what exactly made Ranrok despise wizardkind so harshly, you'll find your answer here. Turns out Ranrok once stumbled upon an illegal dragon camp and became fascinated with the creatures. He'd been trying to work up the courage to speak to the wizard in charge when he saw an opportune moment, or at least what he thought was an opportune moment. You see, the wizard in charge had dropped his wand, so Ranrok picks it up with plans to return it to the wizard, maybe use it as an opportunity to introduce himself. This backfired incredibly though, because the wizard saw the goblin with a wand and it actually sent him into a rage. He ended up beating Ranrok within an inch of his life, and from that moment, Ranrok would forever despise wizard kind. Number 3, visiting Azkaban. Hogwarts Legacy featured so many iconic spells, locations, and creatures in the game, but noticeably absent was Azkaban, the Patronus Charm, and the Dementors. Well, unless you played as a Hufflepuff. One quest that all players will get throughout their journey in the game is the Jackdaw quest line. What's different is how you get and start this quest, and it's all based on which house you're playing as. Hufflepuff gets arguably the most interesting start to the quest in the game, as it involves you going to Azkaban with former Auror Helen Thistlewood. The purpose of the visit? To speak with Anne, a prisoner there who was wrongfully accused of Jackdaw's murder. Now, don't be too jealous if you were playing as a different house. The quest itself is pretty short. There's really not a lot of space to even walk around in the area, and you cannot cast any spells either. I suppose you do get a look at the Dementors, which seems to be the only place in the game to see them, despite the fact that they were included in trailers leading up to the game and even appear on the cover art for the deluxe version. Alright, remember how I teased something that happens after you Polyjuice Headmaster Black? Well, we are now here at number 2, and that is where we get this reveal. So once you finally reach the Headmaster's office, you'll now be able to access former Headmistress Neve Fitzgerald's trial, which fans often refer to as the Deathly Hallows mission. Honestly, after just completing my second playthrough, I can pretty confidently say this is my favorite quest in the game, and certainly makes the 4th trial after it a bit of a letdown. So you'll go into the headmaster's office, you'll interact with this book, and then you're sucked inside the book, and everything about the game shifts into a black and white stylized world where massive creatures representing death are going to hunt you throughout. You'll need to use stealth to navigate around them and eventually retrieve the Cloak of Invisibility. After that, you'll soon find the Elder Wand, and then you come to a section where you need to put it to good use in an epic battle, multiple waves of creatures, all from this mysterious shadow realm. And yes, you can definitely feel that your spells are hitting much harder. And finally, after the combat section, you'll pick up the Resurrection Stone, which then lets you talk with former Headmistress Fitzgerald. You won't keep any of the items after the quest, as it was only a memory. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure how exactly the lore works here. Did Fitzgerald, hold all the Deathly Hallows at some point? What exactly was her connection to them, and why were they featured so prominently in this trial? Regardless, the mission itself was awesome, and a great nod to longtime fans of the series. Honestly, I almost put this at number 1. It was really tough deciding between the two, but ultimately, for number 1, I had to go with a moment involving, you guessed it, Sebastian Sallow. For me, the single most shocking moment in all of Hogwarts Legacy has to be the moment that Sebastian Sallow casts Avada Kedavra on his uncle, Solomon Sallow.
You must stop! I won't let her suffer! Avada Kedavra!
Even with all of the tension that had been building in the lead up to this moment and Seb's relentless quest to cure Anne, I still never expected him to actually take the life of his uncle, and with an unforgivable curse. This happens no matter the choices you make throughout the game, although you will have a significant say on what happens to Seb after this moment. Not only is it one of the most shocking moments though, it's also one of the most tragic. If you want to hear me break down Seb's tragic tale and the moments leading up to it in even greater detail, check out the video on the right side of your screen now. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.